Okay, welcome to our lesson on order of operations. Whatever you don't have written down in your notes, go ahead and make sure that you're writing down with me right now. So the first thing that we're going to look at is the investigation. So two formulas for perimeter. You can either use the formula perimeter equals 2 lengths plus 2 widths, or you could use the formula perimeter equals 2 times the quantity L plus W. So you would do the length plus the width and then multiply it by 2, double it. So if we plug in the numbers, 8 for the length and 3 for the width, what we find out is that the perimeter is 22. Now, we're just going to verbally go over some of these questions. When we used that first formula, so when we used this formula, did we add first or did we multiply? We multiplied first because we said 2 sides are 8 and 2 sides are 3, and then we'll combine those together. Now, in this problem, in this type of situation, we said that the length and the width are 8 and 3, and so we added them together. And then we said there's 2 lengths and 2 widths, so we're going to double that. So we actually had added first because of the parentheses. So regardless of what formula you use, as long as you followed the order of operations, we still got the same answer. And so that's what this part down here says. It basically tells me that whenever I'm solving a long problem, I need to make sure that we solve it in the same order so that we all get the same answer. And that order is called the order of operations. So last year you might have called it PEMDAS with a P, but this year we're going to call it GEMDAS with a G because there are multiple types of grouping symbols. Parentheses isn't the only grouping in town anymore. So we have the division symbol. That could be a type of group. We have the absolute value symbol, which we will review, but that is also a type of group. We also have a new symbol called the bracket. It looks like parentheses, but it's kind of more square or rectangular. And then, of course, we have our old school parentheses. You could still see those this year as well. So first step is always do any type of grouping. Second step is to do any exponent. So for example, 5 squared or 5 to the second power. We would do an exponent after we're done with the grouping symbols. The next step is to either multiply or divide. It depends on whichever comes first. We're going to go from left to right, just the way we read, left to right, pick the one that comes first. All right, and then our final step is to either add or subtract. Again, we're going left to right, whichever one comes first. What is an exponent? Just to review, an exponent tells us how many times a number or the base, so in this case the 3 is the base, is being used as a factor. How many times is the 3 being multiplied? An exponent or a power has 2 parts, the actual base itself, and then the little number in the corner is actually the exponent. 3 to the 4th power is actually 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, which is 89. All right, now on to the back side of the notes. Again, whatever part of the back side of the notes that you did not do yet, you are going to be writing along with me. So at the top, we see that there's a couple of exponents. We need to know how to pronounce them. This top one can either be pronounced 8 squared, so make sure you write that in, or we could say 8 to the second power. All right, 8 to the second power. What it means is 8 times 8, which would simplify to 64. Sorry, that's a times dot, but you can't really see it very well. Okay, next one. We can pronounce it 5 to the third, 5 to the third power. We could also pronounce it 5 cubed. Because a cube has 3 of the same type of sides, we can pronounce it 5 cubed if we would like. Now, 5 to the third power, 5 cubed, means 5 times 5 times 5, which is 125. Okay? The last part back here says 2 to the 4th power. There's no other way to say it. It's just 2 to the 4th power. There's no fancy squared or cubed or anything like that for anything power 4 and up. This problem, a lot of people think it means 8. It does not. It means 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. So the value of 2 to the 4th power is actually 16. Okay, let's go ahead and start in on our order of operations problems. The very first problem says 1 squared plus 3, and that's pronounced times the quantity of 4 plus the quantity of 11 minus 3, all divided by 6. Now, within the order of operations problem here, I see brackets. I see some grouping. So I'm going to immediately kind of put my eye over to this brackets. Within the bracket, within the grouping, there's still a lot going on. So I have to say GEMDAS to myself again. And what I find is that I'm going to go ahead and do the group within the group. Okay, so I'm going to start all the way in the parentheses. This little symbol is called a caret, and I'm going to require that you use it to show which step you're working on, because at this time, you're only allowed to work on one step at a time. So right now we have 1 squared plus 3 times the quantity of 4 plus 11 minus 3 is 8. It was in the parentheses to show it was a group, but the group is gone because now it's just an 8, so the parentheses disappear. Okay, and then we still have our divided by 6. Now I say GEMDAS to myself again. I do see some more grouping right here. So I'm going to again show my carets, and I'm going to solve that step. It's going to be 1 squared plus 3. Now this says 4 plus 8, which is 12. But I can't leave no symbol in between the 3 and the 12. So I'm still going to wrap it in a group for now. Divided by 6. I could have wrapped it in a bracket. I could have wrapped it in this parenthesis. But when a number is butted up right next to a grouping like this, that means multiply. So I left it as parentheses because that's a more common parentheses are a more common multiplication symbol than a bracket. Okay, now, GEMDAS, say it to myself again, there's no grouping. Even though this is a parenthesis, there's not a group in there. There is a lonely number, a 12, just by himself. 12 is not a group, it's a number. So that's not a grouping. So G, no. E, exponent, there is an exponent here. It's 1 squared. 1 squared is 1, because 1 times 1 is 1. So then I move on, plus 3 times 12 divided by 6. Now, next step. GEMDAS, groupings, there's none. Exponents, there's none. Multiplication and division, there is. And we'll go with the first one that we see, which happens to be 3 times 12. So I get 1 plus 36 divided by 6. All right, I'm getting closer to the end. GEMDAS, there's no grouping, there's no exponent, there is divide, so I'm going to do that step right now. 36 divided by 6 is 6, and I drop down the plus 1. My very final step is I add them, and I get 7. All right, on to the next, oops, sorry about that, example problem. I'm actually going to do example 3 with all together, and then you can try the other 2 examples by yourself. So in this particular problem, we do see a grouping symbol. It's this right here. It's that lovely little division sign. It's a group because I call this a party on top. There's a lot going on up there, so that's a group. So I have to start with the G, the GEMDAS. Now, grouping. Grouping tells me that I should do order of operations within the group. There's no grouping up there. There's no exponents, no multiply, or divide, but there is add and subtract. And remember, we always go add, subtract from left to right, whichever one comes first. So going left to right, the way that we read a book, this is the first thing that I see, the 5 minus 2. So I'm going to rewrite everything I didn't use, 22 plus 5 minus 2, which is 3, okay, plus 7, all divided by 2, divided by 3 squared. Again, I still see a group. There's still a party on top, so I got to take care of that. GEMDAS. 22 plus 10 over 2 divided by 3 squared. Okay, GEMDAS, there's no grouping anymore. There is still a division symbol, but that is just a division symbol. That is not a group. There's no party on top or on bottom. So there's no grouping. I go to exponents, which is right here. 22 plus 10 divided by 2 divided by 3 squared, which is 9. Okay, now it's getting a little more complicated. I need to continue GEMDAS. Grouping, there isn't any. Multiply, divide, there are 2 divisions. We go from left to right. So I'm going to do this. Oops, sorry. I'm going to do this one first. It's going to say 22 plus 5 divided by 9. Now, we are pros with our rational numbers. We know that we can do, dividing numbers that doesn't, equal out to be a whole number. 5 divided by 9, I can either write it as 0.5 repeating, Or I can write it as the fraction 5/9. I'm going to go ahead and write it as 0.5 repeating, because if I were to divide those, it would be 0.55555, and the 5 continues to go on and on and on. Okay, so plus 22, and my total here is 22.5 repeating. And that's it. Try the others on your own. Thank you for watching.